Hare Krishna. Next we were in South Africa, we went to India, and now we're back to South Africa. The next devotee, actually same gentleman as I was introducing before, and he's very well-known devotee actually, and much loved. And he first met Srila Gurudeva all the way back in 1993, and he took Harinam from Srila Gurudeva in 2010, and 2 weeks later he took Diksha. So I don't want to take any time away from him. I'm going to hand over to Sriman Mukunda Das, Sriman Mukunda Prabhu, who I hope is now online to offer his Pushpanjali. Prabhu, over to you. Fantastic.
Okay.
You need to come off mute, Prabhu. Also, look at the screen because I'll.
Okay, can you hear me now? Tarun, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And I'll give you some time sheets as to when to finish as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dandavat Pram, everybody. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to say something about Gurudev. I first met Gurudev in 1993. I was in Gurukul back then, and I was in ISKCON, aspiring from a guru in ISKCON. That guru used to take shelter of Gurudev when all the ISKCON sannyasis were going to Gurudev for Shiksha. And because I was serving him, I had the opportunity to go with him when he used to go meet Gurudev, but I wasn't allowed inside to hear what the discussions were. And also in 93, we used to meet up with Gurudev when we were on Parikram, like at Govardhan or in Vrindavan, and then we would merge into his party, and then he would lead the party and he would lead us. So that guru that I was aspiring from, the ISKCON guru, in 1996, he made a cassette tape called Blissful Bhajans. And in the invocation, he had Srila Gurudev's Pranam mantra. Now at that time, nobody knew much about Narayana Maharaj in South Africa. And so he kind of got away with it in ISKCON. And I didn't know, but because he was the guru that I was aspiring for back then, I used to listen to that tape and I used to chant along with that tape. And unknowingly, for about 14 years, I was chanting Srila Gurudev's Pranam mantra without knowing it. Then in 2010, when Srila Gurudev came to South Africa, he was staying at some Maharaji's house in Johannesburg. Damayanti Maharaji, Kalyani Maharaji, and Lalita Maharaji, they are all disciples of Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj. And Gurudev was staying at his house for the last day to take a rest and then go over to Brazil for 10 days and then come back to South Africa. So while he was there, they called me and asked me to come along because Srila Gurudev, we were afraid that ISKCON might do something to harm Srila Gurudev. So me being ex-military and working for the state, they asked me to come along and just to make sure that nothing happened. So I went along thinking that I would protect Gurudev, but not actually he was protecting me. So when I went to his house, and I didn't want to see him, I was very scared to see him because I always knew that Narayana Maharaj is such a pure devotee, and if he sees me, he's going to see all my faults in my heart, all my anatta. And I didn't know what he would do, but I was just scared of him knowing my anatta. So when I went to the house, I was like trying to hide behind the pillars and the trees at the house. But Madhav Maharaj, by force, took me to Srila Gurudev. And Srila Gurudev gave me Harinam. And from that day, it was like everything changed. It was as if I felt that I had to relearn everything that I'd learned because Srila Gurudev just like opened up all of this this knowledge to us and so much of love and affection that he gave us. He just captured us. So Srila Gurudev, at that time, it was myself, Sudevi, Didi, Kishori Mohan Prabhu, Madhuvat Prabhu. He was with Gurudev, Damodar Maharaj, and Krishna Prem Prabhu and Nandini. We were together and we were helping create awareness for Gurudev and like a canvas for him. So during that time, we had a wonderful time just trying to serve Gurudev and just assisting them with whatever they were doing. Then when Gurudev came back on the 29th of when he came back from Brazil after 10 days, then I took Diksha, and that's when I asked him for Diksha. So when I noticed when Madhav Maharaj and Brajanath were massaging Gurudev, he had these plastic bottles with the different oils in them, but the bottles were like really dusty on the outside and dirty on the outside from the oil. So I went out and I bought some like hip flasks made of pewter, but were very ornately designed with like Celtic design and stuff. And I bought a couple of them, 5 of them, and I put them in a little wooden box and took it to Gurudev. So when I approached Madhav Maharaj to give it to Gurudev, he took me to Gurudev, and when I gave it to Gurudev, immediately Gurudev said, "No, I cannot accept this. I'm a sannyasi and this is too much luxury for me." So I was like a bit taken back. So I was like, "Please, Gurudev, you know, I bought this for you. I want you to have it." And he says, "No, I cannot accept it. It's too much luxury. If you want, you can sell it and you can give the money for my temple that is being built in Navadvip." So then I asked Gurudev, Gurudev, I want to surrender to you and I want to dedicate myself to you. Can I get Diksha from you? And while I was like actually explaining to Madhav Maharaj that can I take Diksha, because of my work, I work for the state, and a lot of the type of work I do takes me to very not kosher places. So I told Madhav Maharaj, some of the stuff I do, I gotta go into like really bad places like drug dens and strip clubs and bars and stuff, to do my job. And I asked him, is it okay for me to take Diksha if I'm doing those type of activities? Then Madhav Maharaj said, no, it's fine. And he told Gurudev, at that time, he used to speak really loud to Gurudev. And he was telling Gurudev, like, Mukunda is, he wants Diksha, but Madhav Maharaj said he goes to brothels. And I was like, oh, and then Madhav Maharaj was trying to explain to him what I do. And then he said, I'm a commando. And then Gurudev jokingly put his hands in the air and he laughed and said, okay, now you can serve me. And then Gurudev gave me Diksha that day. And the funny thing was because Madhav Maharaj was speaking so loud, he just screamed, he goes to brothels, Gurudev. And then all the Maharajis that were in that house, when I walked out of there, everybody was looking at me like, I go to brothels or something. And that was an amazing time with Gurudev. And after that, I came up to Mayapur to be with Gurudev for Gopurnim. And then I came again at Kartik when Gurudev was performing in Sickness Leela. And I guess 2010 was the year I had with Gurudev, and that was it. So that's my little story on Gurudev.
Thank you, Mukunda. You have a few more minutes if you want, but normally we have to stop people. So you've been very kind to the MC.
Well, like I said, I had that 1 year with Gurudev, came in 2010, and that night I slept outside his room, and I managed to wash his clothes and iron his clothes, and I helped Madhav Prabhu a little bit with cutting some vegetables, I think, and I washed his plate. And I had one Kartik and one Gopurnim with him, so it was kind of a whirlwind experience, but he just came and he stole all our hearts and he just left,
So somebody has to write a book on that tour, because I've heard stories about that South African tour, about the intensity of that tour. It was amazing. It sounds amazing. All the things that happened, and it was so successful.
Yeah, it really was a tough time. I remember Sudevi, Kishori Mahan, Damodar Maharaj, they really had a tough time in the beginning in South Africa because they were treated very badly, number one. And ISKCON was trying every trick in the book to try and dissuade people from going to Srila Gurudev's classes and his program. And so much so that they'd hired singers to come down and have programs and have concerts to coincide with Srila Gurudev's program. And we went through a lot. There was a lot of stuff, a lot of things we had to tolerate. We went through a lot of difficulties. I remember the one time we were staying at a house somewhere in Johannesburg, and there was like one clean blanket in the house. All the other blankets were soaked with dog urine. And it was so cold that we were struggling to sleep that night, and cover our faces with that blanket that smelled so bad. And there was one good blanket, and myself, Damodar Maharaj, and Krishna Prem and Kishore Mahan, we all tried to sneakily get that that blanket every night, you know, to sleep on it. So we went through a lot of stuff, but it was also very sweet, and it was very it was a very bonding moment for me, especially with, you know, with Srila Gurudev's Sangha, and especially Sudevi and Sriman, Krishna Prem, Damodar Maj, and Nandini as well. She was also Nandini from England. She was also here. And it was crazy, you know, in the beginning, they had Sudevi and Sriman stay in a very dangerous area, you know, and very rough treatment, you know, like they came over and then they had to drive for like 8 hours to Johannesburg, and yeah, it is terrible. And like I said, ISKCON was doing a lot of nefarious things.
The Gurudev had a maxim, I'll paraphrase, he said something along the lines is, the more problems there are, the more absorbed I become. So these problems are always just opportunities for deeper absorption.
Yeah. I'm sure that gave him even more publicity by them announcing, you know, in the temple and stuff, not to go for Narayana Maharaj's classes, or threatening ISKCON, because a lot of ISKCON devotees were threatened with expulsion if they went to Srila Gurudev. So, you know, all of that. And I got to say, the main driver of that program was Bhakti Chaitanya Swami. And yeah, he was the main.
Let's not mention any names. Let's keep it positive. Anyway, thank you so much for your Pushpanjali. Hari Bol, and thank you for, I'm really glad you came online. Hari Bol.